purpose of education is this: learning about history, right? Learning what we had made a mistake, like all of those things. That's what you're supposed to do when you go to university. But they actually ended up very twisted about reality. I don't think that's the thing. Like their reality is so twisted, almost like they're in a different like planet than like you, right? Like what history book did you read, right? Like what? I mean, so I don't know, but how are they so good at like making the reality so delusional? Like North Korean regime is so good at it, using a one actual fact. It is a fact, but using it, spinning in a way that it just makes the entire thing a different story.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the media jumping on this. Like, there's been the big debate about critical race theory happening now. And like on CNN, they're saying like, oh, the far right is trying to prevent slavery being taught in schools. And that's not what people are arguing about. They're arguing about critical race theory, but they just reframe it in a way that's a total lie. Mm-hmm. And since the media is the bastions of truth, who's there to challenge them?
Yeah, well, I think, on top of who's there to challenge it, it's like if we're in New York City, which is a pretty liberal place. And, if you challenge an idea that's pretty much pushed in the media and is common, and you challenge it here, like on the streets of New York City, like, you don't know, like maybe someone will go after you for expressing your idea, right? Or beat you up or something.
Yeah.
And so, or, the Columbia University equivalent, which would be like canceling or getting you demarked or whatever it is that they do, right? So there's this enormous social pressure to then not question a certain view. And so, there actually may be a lot of people who disagree, but over time, the inability to raise that issue or the inability to ask critical thinking questions, then for some people, they just stop thinking about it altogether. Others, they just are just afraid to ever express it. And so you end up with the overall environment being one that is not conducive to independent thought, but rather everyone just feels more comfortable going along with whatever the prevalent narrative is.
Mm-hmm.
So we can all live in delusion together, and then we're all harmonious.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you been getting any backlash for talking about these things? I mean, you were on the Jordan Peterson podcast. Some people hate that guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the thing, like, right? Like, I remember, so my story with Dr. Peterson was back in when I had a baby in 2018, I think. One day I was walking the summer downtown Chicago. Huge, this like auditorium theater. Huge letter, Jordan Peterson sold out. I never heard that name before, right? Like, it was like on the weekday too. And who sells out the entire thing like that? And my ex back then, we were walking, and then they were like selling tickets, like very high price in front of the door. And then we bought a ticket and we entered the room. Fully packed. And actually, yeah, a lot of men were there. And Dr. Peterson has no slides, talking about 12 rules for life, right? Going through the rule number 1, 2. And these people crying in tears. I've never seen anything like that for like 2-3 hours lecture in that big hall. And that's when I thought, I mean, if there was a time, right, like if Socrates was alive or Steve Jobs alive, we have a saying that how much would you pay to have a lunch with them? So he was that kind of person to me, right? I'm like living with the greatest thinkers of my time. How much would I pay to have lunch with him? So when he like asked for interview, I was so honored, but like I couldn't believe how much hate he was getting. But I also couldn't believe how much hate I get. It makes all sense. But afterwards, especially this time with the Fox, instead of people saying, a lot of my actual friends that like I used to say I love you, all those friends now telling me I am concerned. And I understand because they used to do a project with me and their names are associated with me in the past. So now I think they're trying to protect themselves because they are also public figures. In a way, I understand. But then in a way I don't understand because these people are the ones talking about justice and how hypocrite they are. Now the first thing they want to do is protecting themselves, not associating with a bigot like me. And I mean, of course, random people like tell you F you, like go die, you're the fake. And then a lot of people challenge, why did you have to talk about that on Fox News? And I'm like, Fox was the only one who called me on this, right? If New York Times calls me right now, I will be on New York Times. Like, I will be on CNN. This news was like, this Fox thing covered South Korea, like 50 articles came out. New Zealand, Australia, all other countries wrote about my article. None, CNN, New York Times, MSNBC, none in mainstream covered even one single thing about that article. It was like
Wow.
as if they just pretend that didn't happen, right? It was a big thing in every other country, every other platform. So I'm like, it's not like I want to go on Fox. I appreciate Fox. Thank you, Fox News. But then I want to go on BBC too. I want to go on all other people. But then they don't call me. So here I am telling them I'm willing to talk to everybody about this. And this is the thing, like how the fact that I spoke about this on Fox News, that was enough reason for them to never believe me. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, I can forgive you for having that view, but then why was it Fox News? I'm like, so they say you are being used by this propaganda machine, right? So like, for you are being used. I'm like, like people like you know me. I went through hell. I'm not being used. I know how to like control myself. So that was almost like they are denial about it. That's the thing. Because what I was talking, I think was hitting their home in some ways, but it was too uncomfortable. Instead, they are looking for the reasons why I'm a liar, why they don't want to like think about this, right? One is I spoke to Fox News. That's enough reason. And second is, like also comparing. I mean, so they thought still like there was no guns pointing at you at Colombia. So how is it worse than North Korea? But in a way, I was saying the loss of common sense, the chaos in morality was naughtier than North Korea. That's what I meant. Not when it comes actually the punishment, but there is a chaos in morality, right? At Colombia right now, there's never a wrong and bad, like good anymore. You can never do a wrong as an individual now, right? In their scenario, you can be anything, you can feel any way, everything is justified.
You can be wrong. You can go on Fox News.
Yeah. So, but like as long as you are not challenging their view, you can never be wrong. Within their system, everybody is accepted, right? So but the thing most heartbreaking thing was that from the people who I cared about, who I've been friends for many years, I cannot talk about who they are because they are probably people. And saying that trying to like cover their, reputation, the first thing is that it is shocking. And like this hypocrisy is sickening to me. All these people, they say, oh, I care about Black Lives Matter, like I care about women's rights, blah, blah. They try to fit in so they can get a job and they can like do right. They can do good for themselves. And like I don't know actually how many people care about social justice issue at this point.